All right. Welcome back to the show, and we'll start just right away. So since the last show, we've crowned 2 new champions. And first, the Dallas Mavericks. Not to toot my own horn, but I did pick them to win it all, so pat myself on the back. They
did say it 7
over Boston, but they an unlikely champion to some people. I don't see why. Veteran team, great players, great coach, and they just really did what they needed to do and went out and demoralized a much hated Heat team nationally, and they didn't really do themselves any favors with the coughing incident, making fun of Dirk, and just all year just played into the villain thing, and it really kind of turned against them, coming a little bit more. I don't know. But it was a great series.
It was really exciting. It wasn't really a bad game. It was, all of them were really close. Usually,
aside from game 1, which the Heat kind of controlled, every game could have went either way. In the last game too,
the Mavericks kept a 10-point lead usually, but it was exciting in the fourth quarter, and it was actually a bigger story than the Mavericks winning the championship was LeBron not showing up in the fourth quarter. He ended up being the butt of a lot of jokes, actually.
Yes, some good ones too, and honestly, I'm going to say much deserved. As far as you know, you anoint yourself the king, and you play into people telling you how great you are, that you're the next Jordan, better than Jordan, blah blah blah. You know, humility is something that these guys don't really know, these athletes today, and one of the things you should be, you know, instead of when somebody's criticizing you, they're quick to make excuses, but when somebody's praising you, they don't step back and say, you know what, hey, you know, I'm not, you know, yeah. I'm not Jordan, and I'm not, you know, whatever. But they say he sits there and plays into it, and then the big story, one of the maybe the biggest besides the Mavs winning, was post game news conference after Game 6. He says that we, people like you and I, are going to go back to our lives and have the same problems that we have, and he's going to keep living the way he wants to live with his family and his friends. Basically saying he's rich, we're not, he's better than us. Tried to sidestep it a couple days later, but yeah. His PR guy, their PR guy, really isn't doing a very good job because he didn't make any friends after the series, just as much as he did before.
You know, for someone who's a 2-time MVP, and you know, everyone says arguably the best player in the NBA aside from people I know.
I was talking about 8 guys I can name, but whatever.
He did not show up in the fourth quarter like you would expect a 2-time MVP. So he had 0 points in, you know, the NBA's stat, the crunch time.
Yeah.
It's, you know, under 5 minutes, games within 5 points. He didn't score a bucket.
No, it wasn't even that. He didn't show up really the whole game. He scored 8 points one game, 17 points another, 15 points another. That's not what they got this guy for. And you'll hear a lot of the LeBron backers, oh, he got a triple-double in Game 5, so he showed up. Well, the bottom line is, at the end of the game, when they expected the quote-unquote king to step up and be the closer that he is, he didn't. He would give up shots, passing up shots. He has no low-post game. He has no turnaround jumper. He's one-dimensional.
Tim Legler made a great point.
When they stop him, real quick, when they stop him from going to the basket, which is his dimension, he's an average player at best.
Tim Legler made a great point and said he showed a couple of clips of him just passing it off quick to Mark Chalmers, who's like the 7th option on the team.
Who actually played pretty well, though.
He said LeBron took himself out of the game like he was scared, like he was, you know, like he didn't know what he was doing, and
he looked lost, absolutely.
And I had another Shane actually pointed out a stat to me. He said he had the biggest decline in points from regular season to the finals in NBA history. I think it was almost 10 points.
Almost 10 points, 26 to 17.
Almost a 10-point decline.
Yeah.
Wade and Chalmers actually played phenomenal.
Wade and Chalmers, Wade was absolutely amazing. Aside from the coughing incident, he really showed how awesome he really could be. But before we move on to the NHL, one person that's going to go unsung as far as, because you got Dirk was just absolutely phenomenal. Jason Terry stepped up so big in Game 6, carried the team in the first half because Dirk was 1 for 12. But J.J. Barea, I'm sorry, I just did what Jacob does all the time. J.J. Barea, when he came in, first 2 games he was coming off the bench, he was 5 for 23, wasn't a factor after completely dominating the Lakers. And Rick Carlisle, great job, outcoached Phil Jackson, outcoached Spoelstra, which probably isn't that hard, but actually was the best coach in the playoffs. And his changes that he made, putting Beret in the starting lineup and going small, and having Deshaun Stevenson, who I love, coming off the bench, it completely changed the way that they played, and it just he brought a dimension, attacked the basket. The guy was unstoppable going to the basket, and it opened up shooting for Jason Terry and Dirk, and they made the heat pay.
Tyson Chandler was
outstanding,
amazing. If I don't know, Dirk. Dirk was Dirk. He deserved Finals MVP, but man, Chandler was right there. He played phenomenal. He controlled the paint.
He really did, and he didn't have much depth behind him, so he had to be careful with fouls. And sometimes he played with fouls and still played the same great defense that he's known to play. And props to Brian Cardinal. Every championship team has a Brian Cardinal on their team. Celtics had Scalabrini a few years back. You know, everybody's got that scrappy guy that comes in and plays, and he
came in. He scored some big points.
Took some charges in some key moments and did really well. So congratulations to the Mavs and Mark Cuban. I'm sure that it pained David Stern to have to congratulate him, because I know he doesn't think too well. But great season. Hopefully it doesn't get tarnished by the impending lockout at the end of this month. So hopefully the owners and everybody can keep it going. And we'll have a season next year. Just a lot of work a lot of teams need to do.
Boston Bruins.
I'm not going to toot my horn again, but I picked them to win it too. So I'm 2 for 2. Great. The NHL playoffs were about as good as I can remember. Just great series after great series. This one was a great series all the way to the end. The Bruins pounded them every time they played in Boston, and the Canucks won every time they played in Vancouver, with the exception of Game 7. And Thomas was just absolutely phenomenal in between the pipes. He had 2 shutouts, got the MVP. Conn Smythe Award.
He did get MVP. Yeah.
And I said all along I wanted to happy to see an original 6 win. A great series, great Stanley Cup playoffs was tarnished at the end by the riots, the fans in Vancouver. It's the second time they did it. In '94 when they lost to the Rangers, they did the same thing. And this one was just insane. Completely just tore up the city, destroyed it. And it's too bad, because it goes away from a great run that the Boston Bruins had, who just last year
was the laughing stock.
Because they blew a 3-0 lead. Almost blew a 3-0 lead this year.
Not to go off track a little bit, but past 10 years, 4 major sports have had a Boston win championship. The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls, Red Sox won 2 World Series, Celtics won 3 years ago, and now the Bruins.
Yeah, Chile put on Facebook, Titletown. Boston has now become Titletown, and who can you argue when you got them? And speaking of the Red Sox, we'll get to that next segment. But basketball is over. Hopefully there's no lockout. Stanley Cup playoffs, hockey's over. Congratulations to both the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Bruins. And again, just an incredible playoffs on both sides. It was really a fun about 2 months to watch. Just some great games that I'll never forget. And I've been watching sports for a long time. So again, congratulations to both champions, and cross your fingers that there's no lockout. We can get ready for basketball season in about 3 months. So that's going to do it for this segment. We'll take a break, and we're going to come back, talk a little baseball.